Moved it.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, we will take roll, please.
Trustee Baldazo.
Here.
Trustee Campbell.
Here.
Trustee Jensen.
Here.
Trustee Sorrow. Trustee Hardcastle.
Here.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
before we move to the approval of the agenda, I would ask that the board consider adding an agenda item under action 7J due to my personal circumstances over the last week. I failed
Thank
to
you.
request to use football equipment for the summer program. We do have the letter from IHSAA dated in May 30th. Just to formalize the board approval.
So do we need a motion for that?
Yes, please.
Do I have a motion?
I move that we add to consider football using baseball equipment,
Football.
pardon me, this summer under 7J. Second.
We have a first and a second. All those in favor, or any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion is approved. On to budget hearing.
Mr. Chairman,
Go right ahead, sir.
included in your paperwork today is the legal notice. It was published in our newspaper of record, kind of outlining our amended budget or proposed budget for the 23-24 school year. You see in the column, we'll talk specifically, this is a budget hearing, so we'll go through this in a little bit of detail. There'll be an option for some comment, both internal and external, with the conclusion of that before we progress with the remainder of the meeting. You can see in the general fund, the prior year amended numbers. These are the numbers that we generated earlier in the year when we worked on our budget amendment to get us kind of back on track from before. So you can see clearly there, the 21-22 school year to the 22-23 school year, that beginning balance number dropped dramatically. And that was due to expenditure within the district, not this school year, but the year prior. You can see, I'm gonna kind of bounce back and forth between the two just for comparative purposes. So I want to make sure that you guys can kind of see the difference between this year's amended budget and the proposed budget for next year. So you can see that we were able to increase our beginning balance. At the conclusion of this year, we're projecting somewhere in the neighborhood of $373,000. That is still an estimate at this time. We won't know what that final number is until we get our audit back in October. But that's our best guess estimate based on the numbers that we have available right now. You can see the local tax revenue from the amended budget, $274,000 and some change there. This primarily is made up of the CASA levy. You can see a little slight increase in that revenue line there with $332 for this upcoming proposed budget. That's based off of the property valuations of the CASA levy that we just passed in March by our stakeholders. State revenue, there was a sizable amount of money that was put back into K-12 education, of the $330 million proposed to go back into education. 220 of it was sent out to districts. The bulk share of that state revenue was salaries and benefits for certified teachers, also administrators, and classified funding. That's all based on what we're allowed by the state, not what our actual expenses are for salaries. So you see there that we actually have a projected proposed budget revenue source of $3.774 million. That's up $300,000, $370,000 from last year. Again, the big bulk of that is coming from that state revenue, but also a little bit from that local tax increase, and then the money that we were able to score away this year on the beginning balances. You can see in the expenditure items down below, you can see a sizable increase in our salaries and benefit expenditures. Again, this is based off of raises still being negotiated with our certified staff, and then just our regular administrative and classified salaries there. You'll see a sizable jump in purchase services. The biggest bulk of the difference in our purchase service line item is our transportation contract that we are estimating to be somewhere in the neighborhood of $275,000 and you'll see a decrease in our supplies and materials. That's just out of the nature of just trying to tighten the budget is where we're at. Probably the most notable issue on expenditures that the board needs to be very, very clear of is how tight this budget is and how much we're dipping into our revenues to make the budget work. So you can see last year that we had planned $150,000 in contingency reserve plus $270,000 unappropriated, which gave us, as when we were all said and done, it gave us $372,000 carried forward. Currently, right now, if we put that $150,000 into that contingency reserve, that leaves us with nothing unappropriated. So everything's unappropriated. So while we have $373,000 left to start next year, based on this projection, we have $150,000 to start the year after next. There's some factors that come into play. With all of this, the negotiations are still open. We still have some other positions that have not been filled. We have some big purchases that may have to wait. We have fingers crossed that we'll see some open enrollments come in. So we have an estimated 96 students at secondary level that have submitted registration paperwork. We get a funding unit for every 12 kids from 7 to 12 grade. So we get 24, 25 kids that will help this budget flow smoothly without feeling like we're going backwards. It's important to remember, and I know that we covered this in our budget workshop, but for the audience, just want to remind everybody that the significant difference in this is the movement of funding from the state, from enrollment-based funding to average daily attendance funding. So for the last 3 years during COVID, we have been funded, every school in the state has been funded on the number of kids that were enrolled in the district. We are moving back to an average daily attendance. So on the count day in October, and then the best 28 weeks of the year, those are our attendance factors based on our number of students. So currently, right now, while we have about 340 students enrolled in our district, our average daily attendance for our factors is less than 300. It's in the 290s, which is very similar to what our actual physical enrollment was at the conclusion of last school year. So that kind of gives you an indication there as to how so we have roughly 45, 50 kids that we have to provide for, but the same as the next for. And then, so that's the general fund. There's also the other funds. These funds include federal funds. They include grant funds. They include little pockets of money here, there, and everywhere. So everything that doesn't come from the state is considered all other funds. And so there is specific detail that can be given, and it's in our financial reports. When we look into the pools of money that count under other funds. You see there the beginning balance. We've spent a considerable amount of money out of the other funds this year. portion of that was using some of our ESSER funds to pay for staff for this year, to keep everyone whole. And another big chunk of that was the renovations to the old gymnasium. So that's, that kind of makes up the difference there, that $450,000. You see there the local tax revenue line item. This includes our plant facilities money, but it also includes everything else that we get from lottery and building maintenance and other grant funds as well. Not grant funds. It includes plant facility. It also includes our bond.
Okay.
The 190 under other local revenue is typically grant funds. So that's the grant fund that we get for our after-school program, our preschool program. Those funds are all kind of in that pot. State revenue, this is the additional funds that we get for this is our building maintenance match money, or bond match comes out of that. And then federal revenue, this is where we get our title money. So again, this is, and ESSER is included in this as well. So you see the sizable drop there from federal revenue from last year to this year. Big chunk of that is that accounts that people in our ESSER fund. We have roughly $185,000 of ESSER remaining. And 186 of it is earmarked. One more. So it's just a matter of prioritizing, coming back to you as the board as to how we want to spend that. We have until end of September 24 to have it expended. Likely we will expend it all during this fiscal year. So that we will have $0 ESSER dollars moving forward for next year. So again, if you take into consideration what we've been carrying through ESSER for the last 3 years plus this coming year, and where we're projecting the ending balance to be in our general fund, it's tight, very, very tight. You can look down there at expenditures within the other funds. You see a decrease in salaries. Again, this is purely, primarily related to what's not being paid for out of ESSER that have been covered out of ESSER previously. If you look at the purchase services, a significant bulk of that, roughly 55-60% of that is our ABM contract. The supplies and materials, a significant portion of that is, again, this is everything, it includes all of our grants, right? So any grant supply material, but it also includes our maintenance supplies as well. To take care of our outdoor maintenance. The capital outlay line item is the fund reserve for our plant facility fund. So you see there that we spent a pretty big chunk of that, and most of that was for the old gym revenue this year. And then you see our debt retirement as we start working on paying our bond. And then the last thing down at the bottom, you see the appropriated balance. Everything's appropriated. That 199,507 was the projected ESSER funds. Again, that number is actually closer to 185. And we anticipate having $0 of that remaining in the year. So that is the presentation. I'll stand for questions from the board.
Do you have any questions from the board? Will you stand for questions from the audience?
I will.
Do we have any questions from the audience in reference to the budget?
I just wanted to clarify that I was understanding what you said, Micah. I understand the enrollment versus the average daily attendance. I understand how that impacts the district, but you said there was between 40 and 50 kids that we were not getting paid for. Can you explain that to me a little better? I didn't quite understand that.
So average daily attendance, it might not be 40. It's probably closer to 35 instead of 40, right? So roughly 10% of our students, our ADA is being calculated roughly at about 90% right now.
And that's because our attendance is not at 95% if that's what they're requiring. Okay. I just
And,
wanted-
it's based off the year prior, right?
Okay,
So the next year's budget is based off of our
Right.
attendance from this school year.
Okay.
So even next year, if we increase our attendance, get that up, we will see that come into the budget later in the year, but for pre-budgeting purposes, it comes later. So, again, so effectively, while we have to serve and plan for 100% of the kids that are here, we're only getting funded for 90% of them. So thank you for asking for that clarification.
Any other questions from the audience? Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it highly. We will move forward if we have no more questions.
Chairman, do we have to approve the amended budget or the agenda with the addition of 7J?
Oh. I thought we did. Oh, that's right. You're correct. That is correct. Thank you. Good eye, madam. So do I have a motion to approve the amended budget or amended agenda?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve the amended
I'll second that.
First and second, do we have any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion has been approved.
Thank you.
Moving on to 3, correct? 3A? Do we have any blue ribbon recognitions from the board? No? Okay, then we will move forward to the consent agenda. Everybody gets a chance to look at the agenda, or the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Or does anyone need anything taken out?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
First, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion is approved. Moving on to public participation. Do we have?
We do not.
We do not? Okay. And we'll move on to 6A, student information items and reports, student organization, the FFA. Mr. Parker, it's all yours.
I know you got pulled in, I'll be really brief. So we have welding certifications, all right, welding certifications, we had, got the full list here, so we had Mr. Schertz, our welding inspector, come out to test the kids, came out 3 different times, and this is the breakdown of it. We had a total of 12 students that earned 24 certifications, and most of them out there on the football field practice right now. So or they're still at their work. But Titus came in tonight, and Titus was one of just 2 kids that received 3 different certifications. And so this is what it looks like. I think I've showed it to you before, but that red stamp, that's what is the actual document that they can take into a welding shop and say, I am certified. So they stay current as long as you're in your craft and continue to working well. So I'm just very excited for Titus. He really did a great job working hard. Now, I'm gonna put you on the spot today, but I was gonna say this. You tell them what your 3 certs were.
I got certified for 3G MIG, 4G MIG, and 1G stick.
So tell them what 3G means.
3G is vertical, so going straight up. 4G is overhead, and then 1G is just flat.
And that was the stick, the arc.
That was
So with that, it's very thick metal, and it's beveled out to be, he's got another backer bar installed underneath, and it's a multiple pass. And so if you've ever arc welded or seen or heard anything about arc welding, getting it very, very smooth and perfect so that there's no slag inclusions in there, because you're gonna be laying multiple beads, probably how many, you think?
Mine's
9. So 9 different beads on top of that. Then, so it passes a visual, looks good enough. Then Mr. Church takes back to the shop at Valley View, and he will, it's a 6-inch bar that he's welding on, and he'll cut off the inch on both ends, and then he'll take a 1.5 inches out of the center, and he'll put it through a bend test, and it turns it into a horseshoe. And once it passes that bend test, then it doesn't break, doesn't have so many cracks in it, it's a really cool. And I'm gonna have those bend tests, but you're gonna get my trophy drop guys doing a nice really cool date, their name, and put a nice little takeaway for their future office. So it's a cool thing. So Titus, I'm glad you came. We're gonna present you with your 3 welding certificates. Thank you so much, and just a fun kid to have in the shop program. Real quick, I'm gonna read the rest of them. So we had Aiden Black, and he's a freshman, George Mitchell, Cole Askew, Brandon Kirk did 2, that was back in earlier May, Ian Hill, Gunnar Campbell, and Jacob Penfold. And then here in late May, we did Hunter Campbell, Titus again, Gunnar, Ian, Cole Askew, Aiden Black, and Eli Hill. So those were the ones that we rounded out so I've got all of them. I'm gonna hold them. I'm gonna have Mr. Church make a duplicate of every single certificate. I'm gonna put it in the protector's sleeve on a notebook, so when they show up in 2 years and say, yeah, we're ready to go. Quick FFA report, had a great trip to Moscow last week. Kids had a good time. Always good to get them on the college campus so that they can see themselves there. Give them full tours with lots of wild college stories. Got them even snuck them in politely to the Keeping Home football field where they were able to see what that's really like. Took them through college classrooms. It's a fun thing for them to really start to think about that. We'll have activities coming up. We've got Wednesday. We will have parents taking students over to the Capitol mid-morning for the governor to draw the raffle ticket for the side-by-side. That's Wednesday. Then Friday, they'll be involved in the foundation golf tournament as picture people with all the sponsors. So they'll be in all the pictures. And so it's a busy time. Got tons of fair kids going on. So in between running around doing that, I'm going to go visit fair kids and plans.
Fair dates.
Fair dates, 3rd of July. It's like, no, I got it right here. And if I probably ought to overuse you guys some wristbands to get you in, that will be July 25 through 29. Saturday morning's the sale. Saturday morning, 29th will be the backstop sale where we'll have kids go through. We have 5 lamb kids and over a dozen steers and 2 pigs. So I'm gonna start going around and weighing the lambs and the pigs this week, and then our first beef show practice is going to be Saturday out to Limerick's, and the girl is on her way today. She's in DC. She's got out first thing this morning, so she's going to be there all. So busy stuff.
Thank you, sir.
You can stick around and listen to this fantastic public participation for you.
Thank you, Titus. Appreciate it. Good job.
Congratulations.
We'll be in touch.
Move on to CASA minutes.
Mr. Chair, I don't have anything to add other than.
What was I was gonna say something, I can't remember what it was for.
I don't have anything. Anybody have any questions in reference to the cost minutes? If we do not, we will move forward and we'll go on to the grants coordinator report.
I think that's me.
Yes, it is, ma'am.
All right, so we submitted our Stronger Connections grant today, and 75,000 for year one and 70,000 for year two. And so that's like a comprehensive approach where we're hoping to pay for like our vape centers, Gaggle, some bring back work projects, SEL learning, some of the regulation district-wide, PBIS, and then also hopefully a PBIS coach, which could also help with some security on both campuses and some supervision. So that was submitted today. And then we're going to hopefully look at closer to securing our future grant, which will be 20,000 for both buildings. And this weekend I attended Early Learning Collaborative, which is part of our preschool grant. And we were awarded an additional 3 years. It's now called Idaho Readiness Project, so I'll update that in the July meeting. With that amount to cover our operating costs in preschool, along with continue to work with Early Learning Collaborative. And then next week, I'm also going to attend a webinar called Expansion Grants, looking at the possibilities of hopefully pursuing with Lana Kozowski a center. So moving preschool into the center, because we'll eventually need the classroom space back, and then I know that's been a dream of both mine and Rhonda's, looking at some space, working with the community hall, with the library, or somewhere in town. Hope Valley was awarded the expansion grant to build their preschool program, and then I'm hoping to use that space after school time, especially if we don't have a fire learning center, or look at an opportunity for a different population, and maybe space for our secondary students to go, or some summer programming to learn how to that. So more information on both of those coming soon. And then I'm still waiting to hear back on United Way, some funding, additional funding to pay for our community schools coordinator. We do not receive that funding, and I'm going to look at this with Burger Foundation grant. It's not due until August. I'll pay for our community schools coordinator. So that's any questions on the grants?
Okay. So we'll move on to federal programs report.
So just currently, we're hoping to have a CFSGA in the next week or so with Armenia. She's doing that role here, and also with Micah. So that will be, as you know, our title funds are less, so we'll get to do some creativity. But that's the next step. And then today, within Power School, we were able to identify our migrant students, make sure all that's squared away.
Sounds good.
And I've been collaborating with Tamara, who's the federal program director in Caldwell. And so we're looking at maybe a quarterly meeting of us for next year. Just to keep in the loop, because they are bigger than us, but making sure that things that our students need or our staff needs that they check marks too. So we talked about that as well. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Okay.
No, you're actually
Questions on the federal programs?
moving on to elementary principal report.
We don't have a written report for the board this month due to my situation, the personal side of things. My draft report I got home about a week and a half ago. So we'll have a comprehensive report for everyone that includes kind of a snapshot picture of where we're at with our academic testing to round up the end of the year last year. But also looking at the comprehensive picture. Sometimes the day of the ISAT test or the day of the IRI is a good indicator of the learning that's taking place over time. So I just want to make sure that I present, one, what gets reported at the state level, and two, also what other data points that we have for that. So we'll look for that in July. And then I think the biggest thing, the other thing that I just want to mention is that we have our teacher staff identified for next year at the elementary level. Got a chance to meet with both the new staff at the elementary level, last week, the week before, somewhere there. We're really excited to be here. So, really looking forward to working with the elementary team to build team cohesion and do good stuff.
Either were new staff from this area?
One of them is an Eileen, so she's married
Oh.
to Mary's brother.
Okay.
So fairly local. The other one is a recent college graduate. She grew up in Middleton, in the division, out charter school.
So, yep.
Have local roots.
Okay, that was the only question I had. Any questions from the board? Okay. Move on to second, or the junior, senior high principal report.
So this past week I was able to attend Varsity Summer Camp, YMCA camp for our middle school students. We ended up taking 12 of our students and then Mrs. Lake Hart and Mrs. Green were both camp counselors. And it was amazing. It was so cool. I cannot wait to take a group of kids next year. And I think that we'll really make sure that we're able to provide an opportunity for those students that would never have that to go. So from mountain biking to all the YMCA stuff, rock climbing, fishing, hiking, mushroom, STEM stuff, like it was amazing. And so I was there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Megan and Jackie took the rest of the week. But what it was a grant with 160 other students and other 21st century collaboratives. And so each one of us was in charge of like different activities like cup stacking, arts and crafts, friendship bracelets. It was just awesome. So I can't wait to take another middle school kids next year. And I want to incorporate some of the work that Cool Speak did with some just about leadership and about what it means to be a kid and sticking up for what's right. So I think that was awesome to be able to have those conversations with those 17th graders who come back this next fall. PBIS team, we're sticking with the 4 Rs. We're going to have a district-wide 4 Rs, and so you'll see some more of that branding maybe hopefully in the July meeting where we can get some things posted around the building. I do want to give a shout out to Mrs. Sandberg. She's just knows everything about the front office. There's no way we've been able to have a successful year to wrap up. So I do appreciate all the work and the knowledge that she has. And then this summer, I'll plan on collaborating with some high school principals, especially with Carla, Monique, looking at the behavior consequence matrix to try to come up with a plan of some tier level consequences. So it's very black and white. And students and parents are on the same page. And then as I mentioned before, I attended this symposium for early learning. That's my high school report. I do have data attached, and like Mike has shared, it is a one snapshot. I plan on taking the student achievement data to our fall building meeting and really digging in deep on our ISAT scores. And there is correlation. Students that were below proficiency on the ISAT are not getting the mark in math. And that's still true at the secondary level. This is the first year I've really looked at upper grades. And so I knew there was a correlation, but there truly is a correlation. And then really an emphasis on math. We have to come up with a game plan to get our scores. My goal for next year is that state average. And so, any questions on that?
And if I understand correctly, part of that ESSER funds that we're holding aside setup is for math curriculum, correct? Okay.
Still currently being held for that purpose. Yes.
Yes, okay. I like how you did that. I did have a question in reference to your consequences matrix that you're looking at. Is that not part of our current policy or, okay, so we've never had anything like that?
No.
Sad.
Do you want me to clarify that?
No, that's fine, no.
But we do have like first offense, second offense, things like
Yeah,
that.
no, I understand that, and I knew that, I just didn't know what. I knew we didn't go into detail, so I just didn't know if you guys had already set up something that was more detailed, but if you're looking at it, I wanna leave it and let you guys figure that out. So that way that's set up. And then that way when you get that information and put that together, that I would like to see
My
come to
goal
us.
is for last meeting, to have it roll out on this.
Beautiful.
And I think, and I think part of it is trying to identify what is important to provide some stability as to know if I violate this rule, this is a likely consequence.
Yes.
Without it being a if then automatic.
Yeah.
It's finding that balance
Soft balance,
between,
yeah.
we often use the term menu, right? So if this is the offense, this is one of the available consequences. Right?
Well, it's just like law enforcement. I mean, unless somewhere it says you shall, unless it says you shall do this, law enforcement has a wide spectrum. And so that's the life I come from. I was always very straightforward with my students. You tell me the truth, tell me exactly what happened.
Yeah.
I'm more than willing to work with you. You don't, you make me work for it, there's gonna be harsher consequences. And so again, I just wanted to make sure that that wasn't something you guys already had set up and that I didn't know about or couldn't find, which is fine. But it looks like you're looking at it and next month will be perfect.
Yeah, and I would love a level of consequence of integrity.
Yeah,
Show
absolutely.
integrity, this is the
Yeah,
consequence.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from anyone? Okay, we'll move on to the superintendent report.
We have no written report, but I do want to share a couple of things. Again, the bulk of the time here in the last several weeks has been tied to budgeting and putting together tonight's budget hearing, as well as working to provide information for the negotiations team as we're doing negotiations with the Notice Education Association. I've been asked to give an update on, we held our first summer workshop for our critical incident preparedness team on the 31st of May. And I thought that it went very well. It was focused on training staff in incident command protocol, so that they know how to seamlessly, as much as possible, fit with first responders when they respond in the event of a critical incident on campus. We had the county emergency manager who joined us most of the morning. She had to leave right before lunch. Officer Glover joined us for the afternoon. We ran tabletop scenarios. Our emphasis for the entire day was on things not affiliated with active shooter scenario and gun violence. And so we problem solved power outage, extended power outages, problem solved death on campus. If an adult were to have a heart attack or something along those lines. And so it was just a really good opportunity for the operations team to kind of get together and talk through several of those things. Next step is to train our other certified and support staff into kind of what their roles and responsibilities are in the event that something happens. And then just continue to practice and talk through those scenarios so that we have a plan when we get together. I don't know if you have anything, you attended the workshop, I don't know if you had any other feedback.
I think what it helped with me, even though we're small rural districts, we'll still have a plan in place. So, and I realize it will be 15 minutes and someone will be here, but I think just having that person in charge and then also knowing what everyone's job is. So I think the more we practice, even on the smaller things, I mean, our power goes out and we're like, well, it's about to be lunchtime, what's next? Or when we have things that happen in our community, just making sure we have a plan in place.
My fear as an SRO when I did that job was always tornadoes and earthquakes. Always my fear, because that wasn't nothing we ever practiced. Everything was, shooters and all of that, and that's super rare. Where tornadoes, that happens.
Or when we have
Earthquakes.
power line down by
Yeah.
the building,
I mean, those things happen. So again, those were always things that I always considered. Those were more priority, even in Valley. And so, thank you. Anything else, sir? No. Any questions from the board? Awesome. We will move forward on to action item 7, new business. Letter A, consider approving amended fiscal year 23 and proposed fiscal year 24 budgets. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to consider approving amended fiscal year 2023 and proposed
You mean approving the budget? Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the amended fiscal year 23 and proposed fiscal year 24 budgets. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? That motion is approved. Moving on to consider approving contract for school resource officer. Only question I had there is confirming the amount has not changed.
Okay, double check for sure. If it's changed, it's changed here.
It's still like around 5,000, right?
We are currently, this new contract is $5,550.65. And that is for effectively 1 day coverage.
Do we feel that we're getting enough coverage? Okay. I just want to make sure that if we need to consider looking at more time, that we're at least, that's something that, okay. Because I know he comes quite a bit, more than just the 1 day a week. So I just want to make sure that we're getting what we need from the staff and students.
He has done a very good job this year of making the schedule more available to our needs and not a routine
Yeah.
single thing. So this year often.
Yeah, I did hear that, so I really like that. Very cool. Do I have a motion to approve the contract for the school resource officer?
I move to approve the contract for the school resource officer. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve contract for school resource officer. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion is approved. Moving on to approving secondary daily schedule.
Mr. Chairman, I will defer to Ms. Frank to present this topic.
Awesome.
We would like to have our school day start at 7:40, just 5 minutes earlier, so we can take that 5 minutes and put it between second and third period for a break, which would equal up to a 8-minute break in the morning. And so that's our first step to get it approved here, and then we'll figure out what next steps are. Our first bell rings at 7:40, and then the starting bell rings at 7:45, so then we'll shift that to the start time at 7:40. Bus time can change, because the restaurant time is the same.
Lunchtime or breakfast time, all of that stays the same. Why are we feeling that we need an 8-minute break between second and third?
Yeah, so when we surveyed the students and the staff, both of them mentioned that break would be helpful to start the day. And if they wanted a nutrition break, bring something good, and finish before lunch. Because we have a built-in break during testing week, and it seems that students are more engaged in that third and fourth period because they did have a break. Grab a snack and children and back to class.
Okay, so you mentioned nutrition break, but that's not the plan there. We're not looking at
Now we're on there.
having anybody serve, anybody do anything. Okay.
No extra work on anybody except for supervision and always
Has-
additional staff.
Has this been discussed with child nutrition, because that does change their schedule a little bit? Because typically Bell would bring at 7:40, correct? So now it's going to bring at 7:35. Am I correct?
Yes, so the, are you not down here?
Yes.
Yeah, so so that would be, there would be a 5-minute difference, but typically that's just our drivers and then the late cleaners between the late regulars and the kids that come.
Okay. But so has that been discussed with our new director? Okay. At least for me, I mean, that's something that we need to make sure we consider. I don't, okay.
Well, I can.
No, you're good, you're good. Okay, we have information for approving the secondary daily schedule. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion approving the secondary meeting schedule.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask you to find the motion just specifically to state school starting at secondary school?
Secondary school starting at 7:40.
We have a motion to approve the secondary daily schedule to begin at 7:40 a.m. Do I have a second? We have a second. To the further discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? That's great. D, looking at approving a club request for Hispanics in Action. Yes, sir.
Our school policy does allow for the creation of sponsored school clubs to be approved by the board. This is a request, secondary level, so I would refer to this right.
So this is my first year with Gear Up, and in Gear Up, there's kind of a program plan. And within that program plan, you think about your student body, and think about making sure that you're reaching as many students as you can. So one of the goals from that program plan was to make sure that we are involving our Hispanic youth. And so we partnered with Gear Up in the state departments and they've been able to come out and meet with us. And it started with like 4 people, 4 kids, and then their parents joined us, and it evolved to, this Cinco de Mayo event. And so with this club, we still like us to have these student leaders will be part of our Young Hispanic Youth Summit and our leadership. And I'm hoping that Mrs. Trout, our new Spanish teacher, will participate in this as well. And so I know that the parents are very involved, and so we will look at research that whether or not to branch off and have them create their own parent group, kind of like an FFA alumni. But right now, I'd like a holding space for our Hispanic youth and our leaders to part of this club.
So I have obviously some questions. So this club is going to be just for Hispanic youth? Okay, so the issue that I have with it is calling it that. I would personally prefer Cultures in Action.
Okay.
That way we have different, because we have so many different kids. Yes, granted, we're somewhere around 30% Hispanic, something like that. But again, I don't want to single those kids out for anyone else. So I'm not a fan of the name, personally, but where Cultures in Action, that way everybody would feel involved. And then they would be able to celebrate more than just that one particular day, I guess. It's not a holiday.
It's not, and it's not even about Cinco de Mayo, that they just
Yeah.
utilize that to have a fundraiser for scholarships. So it's to support the Young Hispanic Youth Summit and the leadership group from the state level. So that's part of why they came up with that. They get back and we meet with them and we didn't talk about giving for a time.
That's what I would like to see, but again, I'm one person. So, just because I'm not a fan. I've seen what can happen with myself as was when I was growing up. And so, yes, I'm different, but things really don't change. And so, again, I will defer to the board. Anything else? Any other questions? Do I have a motion to approve the club request for Hispanics in Action.
I'll make that a motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Aye. We have 2-2. Motion currently dies. If you want to get some information and bring it back, that would be great. Letter E, approving the secondary student handbook at first reading.
So, wanted to present the junior, senior high school as a first read pending the approval of the consent schedule. And so that's why it was listed as a first read. We also have an outstanding issue where we're not quite ready to approve the student handbook for the secondary school. In July, we will be holding the fee increase hearing. We're looking at needing to increase our student activity fees for student athletes to participate. That requires a formal hearing process, and so we will be noticing that and holding that fee hearing, just very similar to what we did for our budget hearing tonight. And so this is presented with that information in there. We wanted to make sure that we got a chance for you guys to look through it. There's been very limited changing and updating, but everything has been marked with red in this version. And then Trustee Sorrell did include some suggested edits based on grammatical issues, some of which are things that we can easily change, some of which are actually recommending grammatical changes to policy. And we can change that without changing the policy. So I just wanted to present this for a first read with an anticipated approval once we hold the fee hearing in July. And the updated additional policies that we will be bringing in July.
Because I was going to say, would you want to put the matrix that you're looking at in this map? So that was the thing I didn't see in here that I was concerned. Okay, good information. I mean, from what I read, I saw some good stuff. Anybody else? Any concerns, any questions? Moving on to the elementary handbook.
Do you want to make a motion to move that to second reading?
Oh, yes, sorry, yes. Do I have a motion to move the secondary student handbook to a second reading?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to move the secondary handbook to second reading.
We have a motion and a second to move the secondary handbook to a second reading. All those in for any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? Looks like that's moving to a second reading. And the elementary student handbook.
Mr. Chairman, attached is the revised elementary student handbook for the 23-24 school year. Again, Trustee Sorrell did provide some grammatical edits that some of them are needed, and then some of them I think were formatting issues between how she was viewing the document versus how we reviewed the document. Just want to note that for the record. This includes an update of all of our information that we have to date. Any discipline matrix that's developed at the elementary level would likely be approved as an appendix to this document. And not need to hold up the acceptance of the entire document. So
Okay. Any questions from the board? Any motions from the board in reference to approving the elementary student handbook?
Mr. Chair, motion to approve the elementary student handbook as presented.
We have a motion and a second to approve these elementary student handbook. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion's approved. 7G, consider approving the change of date for the July board meeting.
Mr. Chairman, as we have been looking at the calendar, planned date for the July meeting is 10th of July. However, with the holiday fall, where it falls the week prior, we believe that we will have everything ready to go looking forward to that deadline. So we are asking for the board to consider moving that
Thursday, the
Thursday,
13th.
The 13th.
If I may look at my, very quickly.
We do anticipate the July board meeting being fairly heavy with content for review and preview as well. To bring all of the policies for the school year.
Okay.
And so we'll be several that can be pushed into second and third readings, and there will be several that we need to have in place. So our goal and hope is to get those out to you as soon as possible, so we can start reviewing for that meeting.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
you say it's going to be a pretty lengthy meeting that day.
Potentially,
Would it be beneficial to start a little earlier for that meeting?
as well.
If that is your motion, I will accept
How
it.
early all of you guys?
That day I'm free.
8 o'clock in the morning.
I'm not doing that, but, I'm available anytime after 1 o'clock, personally. So, it's up to you. Yes.
2:15 is what we're saying.
Typically 3.
For Trustee Campbell.
I'm very flexible, I can do it.
So, do I have a motion to approve the change of date and time for the July board meeting?
I would make a motion to change the July meeting to Thursday, July 13th at 3 o'clock.
I have a motion we have a motion and a second to move the July board meeting to July 13th at 3 p.m. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion is approved. Letter H, we have a possibility of, boy, I'm just having a hard time, I apologize. Consider approving the fiscal year 24 board agenda calendar.
Mr. Chairman, I apologize, I failed to print copies of this, so I'm going to send copies real quick.
We'll take a short recess, be back in approximately
Okay.
5 minutes.
Good deal.
for the brief recess. That handed out to board members the updated board agenda calendar for FY '24. We indicated here new items in red, removal of outdated or other items in strike through. So just kind of go through this is kind of the scope of the work over the course of the next 12 months. In advance of looking at the July 23 meeting. So again, two big things coming up in addition to the regular business around policies that are coming after the last legislative session. We will have conversation and information around the board trustee election and requirements and timelines, both for trustees who are seeking re-election, as well as information for any public member who is interested in running for election in the November election. In September, you'll see a removal of the snow removal contract that is currently under the scope of work that APM provides for us, and so there's no need for us to seek out an additional contract. Added in November of '23 is just kind of a first semester review and evaluation of Ground Bus, how that process is working for us to keep you as a board involved in that process, both from an efficiency perspective around financial obligations, but also effectiveness around meeting our needs to transport students who are transported both for school and for extracurricular activities. You'll see in several of these, anything that mentions elections and March stricken from the record. So in this legislative session, the legislature removed the March election date from possibilities for schools. So we just indicate that here as well. Again, we added in March, just to, again, the APM review and the Ground Bus review, just to try and get them a little bit earlier as we start looking at considering renewal of their contracts. We are on a 1-year contract with APM that requires annual approval. Our Ground Bus contract is a 5-year plan, so we will not have to consider approval of their contract, but it's something that we want to make sure that we review and discuss evaluation of that process. And other than that, everything else is fairly similar to what the scope of work is as previously. So this just needs a motion for approval, memorialized for you guys, so we can keep track of our business this year.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the fiscal year '24 board agenda calendar?
Mr. Chairman, I will make a motion to approve the FY25 agenda calendar.
I have a motion, do I have a second? Motion and a second to approve fiscal year '24 board agenda calendar. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion is approved. Moving on to letter I, consideration of approving the ISB membership for 23-24 school year.
Mr. Chairman, we have been members of ISBA, which is the Idaho School Board Association. We have received the renewal documentation for the coming school year. We just need to approve formally that it's a membership that we wish to maintain. And see attached to documents that the amount is $1,764.98, which is up slightly from last year, but not
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the ISBA membership for 23-24?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the ISBA membership for 2023 and 22.
A motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
A motion and a second to approve the ISBA membership for 2023-2024. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion is approved. Onward to J, consideration of approving the football equipment to be used for the summer football.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I have here for the record, just a letter from IHSA Director Ty Jones, indicating today's, the football program is utilizing equipment for summer camp. It just clearly outlines that IHSA's catastrophic insurance is not affected in the summer season of the districts, nor the students, nor the camp. Retain liability if there's one. So we just formalize the request for our kids to use their pads for football in the summer.
Do we have that scheduled?
Yes, they're starting in pads tomorrow. Yes, it was so I didn't have to do a special meeting.
Yeah, motion.
The use pads.
Do we have a motion to approve the use of football equipment for summer football?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve the use of the middle school football equipment for kids for their summer football.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and second to approve the use of football equipment for the summer football camp. Have any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion is approved. Moving into an executive session, do we have a motion to move into executive session?
Mr. Chair, I move that we go into executive session for IC -74-206 1FJ.
We have a motion to move into executive session for Idaho Code 74-206 1F and J. Do I have a second? Motion is second. Madam Clerk, will you take
Roll call. Trustee
roll call,
Baldazzo.
please?
Trustee Baldazzo.
Yes.
Trustee Hardcastle.
Yes.
Trustee Campbell.
Here.
Trustee Jensen.
Motion is approved. Thank you all. You want to give us a few, well, I don't know. Let's take a little bit.
I don't like when you say that, John.
I said it could. Not a lot of them.
All the options great.
Madam Clerk, if you'll put us back in session at 8:04. Thank you very much, Madam. We have no action items to take during the executive session. We're on to conclusion. Do we have any requests for administration?
I do not.
Okay. Any unscheduled board items that we want to put on the agenda for next month? I'll take that as a note. And do I have a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to adjourn at 8:05.
We have a motion to adjourn at 8:05. Do I have a second? We have a motion and a second to adjourn at 8:05. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain?
Passed.
We passed. Man, you people want to stay around and hang out with me?